Creating great communication is probably one of the most misunderstood and poorly communicated concepts in human relationships. We all know that great communication is essential to a great marriage, and we all know when we don't have it, but what really is communication? And not only that, but how do you make your communication more effective? One of the most powerful features of a great marriage is great communication. The husband and wife can get through to each other in an easy, clear, and intensely loving way. And they instantly and usually instinctively know how to speak each other's language, and their relationship benefits greatly as a result. So let's start by asking, what is communication? Well, quite simply, communication is the process whereby your intention or intentions are understood by another person. So one person clearly understands, on an emotional as well as a logical level, they understand the message or meaning another person is trying to convey. And of course, we're looking here within the context of a marriage, so these two people are obviously the husband and the wife. Now, there have been many books written on communication, but in fact, the whole process is really quite simple. To create great communication in a marriage, or in fact in any interaction between two people, all you need are two things to be present. Firstly, you need a willingness by both people to want to communicate and to hear what the other person is saying. And secondly, you need the ability to communicate in the communication language of the person you're communicating with. Because the truth is that people in difficult marriages often simply don't want to communicate with their spouse. And frankly, you can have the best communication techniques and skills in the world, but if the person you want to communicate with doesn't want to hear you or interact with you, it's not going to be a lot of help. And when you look at it from this perspective, you can see that great communication is the result of building a great relationship, and not the other way around. You want to have great communication in your marriage? Well, create a marriage where your spouse wants to communicate with you. It really is as simple as that. So that's the first component of great communication in a marriage. The second one, though, the ability to communicate in the communication language of the other person. By contrast, this is neither obvious nor well understood, and it's not even known about by most people. But the truth is that each of us has an individual communication language. The way we literally take in information varies from person to person. And funnily enough, although most of us can hear with our ears are not the only or even the main way we hear things. We have other ways of hearing, which in its essence is simply understanding information. And they include what we see and even how and what we touch and feel. In other words, all of our senses are used in our communication, but each with varying degrees of importance depending on who the individual is. And the languages of two people can be very different. I mean, imagine a marriage where the husband spoke French and the wife spoke Norwegian and neither spoke the other's language. They're not going to get very far in their communication, even if they both wanted to. One or both is going to have to learn the other's language. And our individual communication language, the one we have, can be just as foreign to our spouse. People in great marriages have learnt, consciously or otherwise, how to get through to their spouse by understanding the main ways their spouse takes in information. In other words, the language of their communication. And understanding your husband or wife's communication language, and your own as well, this is something I go into great detail about in my 30-day Save Your Marriage Relationship Transformation program. It's something you might want to consider, because once you understand your partner's communication language, most of your misunderstandings are going to fall away, and with it a lot of your problems and insecurities. You'll also both be able to make each other feel more loved as you communicate your love and feelings on more profound levels. In fact, knowing your spouse's communication language has the power to transform your marriage literally almost overnight. We all know how important communication is in a marriage. I'm not telling you anything new there. But in closing, just imagine what your marriage could be like if there was a strong and unconditional desire from both you and your spouse to share your thoughts and feelings, and if you both really understood each other's communication language. Imagine a marriage with fewer arguments and misunderstandings, without feeling resentful because your spouse didn't get it, or in which you didn't have to compromise your thoughts and feelings. It really is possible, and it's an integral part of the only sort of marriage you really want to have, which is a great one. So to find out more about this and how to apply it to your marriage, check out my 30-day Save Your Marriage Relationship Transformation program. You'll find the details by clicking the link in the description.